Happening now on Grid Tonight. Team Penske cleaned house and fired its IndyCar leadership team, including Tim Cindric. How will this impact the team's future competitiveness in general? And will they be too distracted to focus on the Indy 500? NASCAR announced the 2026 Hall of Fame class. How impressive are their resumes? Simon Pagenaud will begin mentoring Théo Pourchaire. Will Pagenaud's influence help bring the young Frenchman back to IndyCar on a more permanent basis? Hello to all our viewers watching here in the United States and around the world. Welcome to Grid Tonight, your weekly motorsports news program. I'm Kobe Lambert, and with me are Joshua Busch from JB Motorsports, Matt White from Grid Endurance Performance Index, and welcome back Jackson Lambros from Outlet Media. We encourage everyone to interact with us in the chat, support us through Super Chat, and visit gridnetworktv.com for our latest content. Before we get into it, we already have some people in the chat. A Day in the Life says that you're at Bigwood Speedway Bar here, and you're putting the show on television. Talk of the town is Penske, absolutely, and that's where we're going to begin, right at the top. And if we have new viewers watching us on TV at the bar, welcome to Grid Network, and be sure to visit our YouTube to like and subscribe so you don't miss any motorsports coverage. Moving forward, happy to have you all watching. And then Amber's already at full throttle saying that Penske cheaters, that's a New Garden, better not win this weekend's Indianapolis 500. And since Penske is the talk of the town, why not? Let's just get right into it, Josh.
Yeah, diving in completely the deep end is what has been the most controversial bit of the month of May so far, hasn't it? Now, Grid Encore reacted to this story on Monday night, but the controversy at Team Penske won't be going away anytime soon as we inch closer to the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500 this Sunday. If for some reason you haven't heard about this yet, let's give you the full rundown. Scott McLaughlin, Joseph Newgarden, and Will Power all advanced to the top 12 qualifying session. Unfortunately, McLaughlin didn't get to participate because he crashed out in the pre-practice qualifying session earlier on in the day. But Newgarden and Power weren't able to qualify after failing pre-qualifying technical inspection on Sunday afternoon. Now, IndyCar discovered that the number 2 and the number 12 teams had modified alternators on the rear of the car. Initially, we weren't going to hear about any further penalties until the days leading up to the street race in Detroit. However, things very quickly changed on Monday morning when IndyCar announced that Newgarden and Power were being moved to the very back of the grid on row 11. McLaughlin got to keep his 10th place starting spot because IndyCar looked at his alternator and it was legal. The photo taken here by Mike Fravor from Penske Entertainment. The IndyCar president, Doug Bowles, released a statement saying the integrity of the Indianapolis 500 is paramount, and this violation of the IndyCar rule against modification to this part and using it as supplied is clear. The penalty should be more than simply starting where the cars might have qualified anyway. If given the opportunity, the cars belong in the field as 2 of the fastest 33. However, starting on the tail of the field is the appropriate penalty in this instance. The positive momentum around the NTT IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis 500 has been on a steep crescendo over the last several months, and we want it to be clear that our intent is to maintain that momentum and discourage teams from putting IndyCar in positions where it calls into the integrity of our officiating and the levelness of the playing field. As we look to the remainder of the week and the race this weekend, we will do everything we can to make it clear that this is not only the best racing on the planet, but we're racing the best win under completely fair conditions. Now, in addition to starting in 33rd and 32nd, both teams also lost their pit box selection and had to take what was left after the other 31 teams got to decide. They also lost points from qualifying, receiving a $100,000 fine, and both teams' strategists were suspended from the Indy 500. Ironically, those were the same 2 strategists who were suspended from last year's Indy 500 from the push-to-pass scandal at St. Pete. Tim Cindric and Ron Ruzewski as well. Now, the Team Penske statement was put out saying that we accept the penalties issued today by the IndyCar Series, which are due to a body fit violation that occurred prior to the qualifying session yesterday. We are disappointed by the results and the impact it has had on our organization. We will make further announcement later this week relating to the personnel for the upcoming Indianapolis 500. And boy, did they, because now this morning we received some earth-shattering news from Team Penske that didn't only send shockwaves through the NTT IndyCar Series paddock, but the whole motorsport community. With the team's second scandal for the second consecutive year, Roger Penske fired his IndyCar leadership team. Kyle Moyer, the general manager for Team Penske's IndyCar program, and Scott McLaughlin's strategist, Ron Wawrinski, as well, the team managing director and strategist for Will Power, and the biggest name of all, Tim Cindric, longtime team president and strategist for Joseph Newgarden. Wawrinski and Cindric have been with the Team Penske for more than 20 years and over a decade for Moyer. Roger Penske said as well, nothing is more important than the integrity of our sport and our race teams. We have had organizational failures during the last 2 years, and we had to make necessary changes. I apologize to our fans, our partners, and our organization for letting them down. Well, Jackson, Kobe, and Matt, we've got a full house here tonight. Good evening, boys, and good evening to everybody watching as well. After a couple of days to digest this whole situation, where does Team Penske go from here, and what's your reactions to these firing?
I mean, I really do think it's the right move, Josh. We look at not only is it, the exact same team to get caught out a year ago, the same two key players from exactly a year ago. And again, we mentioned just how tied in RP and Penske Entertainment is with this series as a whole. I've talked about this with Ben Schneider and Matt Owens. You don't have the commissioner of the MLB, Rob Manfred, suddenly getting ownership in the New York Yankees and then getting in trouble for juicing up half of its team. This is something that we never see in any other kind of sport. And it's unfortunate that and we saw in the team statement that this is the time that we have to see this rear its ugly head again. I feel like it was either have these two cars not start the 500 or go to team firings. And I think we have a really, really good storyline. That might be a controversial take on my end, but we look at how certain decisions were made after they moved the cars to the back of the field. And I feel like the vibe among the paddock and the fan base was instantly going towards this is not enough. There needs to be something else. So, Kobe, I really do think that this is the right move here. As disappointing as it is for these guys, we talk about how long Tim Cindric has been a name in this paddock, in this team. But, I mean, repeating offense for a guy who's essentially working for the commissioner of the series. It only makes sense for me, guys.
And before I get into my answer, going to catch up on the chat here. You see, Amber is probably asking where's Ben at, but Ben is in the chat. He said, "Oh, I'm here." He said, "And where's Stephen A. Smith? I came off vacation." And Adam Limmer said, "This is incredible. Plenty of news before the Indy 500. Should be very interesting on Sunday." And as I said on the Encore show on Monday night, in my rare appearance on that show, I said that if anything, it should be very fun to watch Joseph Newgarden coming from the last row of the grid to see if he can carve his way to the very front and try to be the first driver to go 3 in a row in the Indianapolis 500. And Amber said she thinks Roger Penske should resign. And Amber, if you haven't seen his sit-down interview with Jamie Little on Fox Sports, I think that's something you should probably check out, because very interesting interview with Roger Penske. And to his credit, I'm happy he didn't hide from the cameras. He got in front of the camera and he said what he needed to say as the owner of this racing series. And he doesn't look like a guy who plans to be resigning anytime soon. But yeah, really crazy though. See all of this unfold in the last couple of days and so. But I agree with Jackson. I think Roger Penske made the right decision here, because something needed to happen. 2 straight years and you have 2 controversies like this, and you have a paddock who's upset and angry at you. The drivers, team owners, fans upset as well. So something needed to be done here to try to help his reputation here and restore the integrity of the series. And I feel like the only way for this to happen, were to let people go. When you say like the buck stops at me, like the buck stops, with all those people they mentioned, Kyle Moyer, Ron Ruzewski, and Tim Cindric as well. And I think the biggest surprise, is seeing Tim Cindric been let go. Since Tim Cindric, for the longest time, he's been Roger Penske's right-hand man, throughout his, throughout all his programs in motorsports. Like more recently, Tim Cindric, just stepped back to mainly focus on the IndyCar series. And if you're familiar with the history of Tim Cindric, he came in during the time of Team Penske. When Penske, were not having their Penske perfect days. They were really struggling as an organization. Tim Cindric came in and he helped turn his organization around, and that's when Team Penske started achieving high levels of success again. So Cindric has been someone who has been central, and Roger Penske, this was someone that he trusted so much, and for him to go out, and let go of someone like a Tim Cindric, it shows you how serious of a situation that this is. God, this is not a decision that the captain would take lightly, and to let someone like Tim Cindric go, it shows you how seriously he has taken this, and I'm really happy something was done, given what's happened, in Indy 500 qualifying, then aftermath.
Yeah, not much more to add, guys, than what you've said, really. Penske perfect is the phrase, isn't it? And we didn't expect this to kind of rear its head, but I guess after the trouble this kind of time last year, kind of all fell out of bed after Long Beach, didn't it, last year with the push-to-pass stuff from St. Pete. You would have thought these guys have been caught with their hands in the cookie jar once to stay out of there when Big Papa Roger Penske is about, but they've been caught out again here. We're going to get to how this has all been officiated and whatnot in a moment, and the ramifications perhaps of that. But for it to happen again so soon after the push to pass stuff from last year, which again you could perhaps put your hands up and say that was a bit of an error of judgment and whatnot. This is not an error. This was trying to do something that no one of the other teams have looked at. And the comments from especially Pato O'Ward and Graham Rahal at the beginning of this week, after what had happened before today, were very, very strong. And yeah, I agree with what Jackson said. It was either going to be chuck these cars out of the race, which could you start an Indy 500 without 33? Not sure. Especially with Fox, big massive race for Fox and TV and all that kind of thing, and have it be slightly different. That's probably not going to go well. Their only real to do something and show face and show that they're actually making some sort of progress was to let these guys go.
Maybe if this was any other race, they wouldn't be involved in it. But Indy seems to have a special aura about it. We already know it has special rules. Right.
Adam Leverise saying good evening to everyone. I wanted to go to the next one and chat really quick here, Cobe. Can Dale Coyne sue Penske?
Ooh.
I don't know if they can. And even if we're in that kind of territory of action, I would imagine Jacob Abel's going to stiff arm that immediately. I think he knows, one, where that team lies, and he's a guy that wants to get into the 500 for the first time on merit, not on an asterisk. And number two, I still would argue Rinus VeeKay is not about to have a great time in the 500 if after Monday and now Fast Friday coming up, he's not able to find another 2 miles an hour of pace in that car. So we're going to figure that out. Denver Thurston, Roger Penske had fired some people in response to, in 2 times in 2 years, found cheating in the series. I'm Will Power fan. He and Joseph Newgarden should gone to bump qualifying at least, or disqualified from the race. Yeah, it's been interesting. I think there is another interesting trend we can see in here, Josh, in the fact that Scott McLaughlin not involved in this at all in either of these incidents, as we thank Amber as well for dropping 20 bands on us.
That's very, very nice. And thank you very much. Yeah, with Scott McLaughlin, he sort of got lucky, didn't he? Even though he was kind of the one that everybody went, what's going on here? He was sort of like the trigger.
And just to remind you folks in chat, that car has been caught with a modified attenuator on it, just not in the moment that, Indy Techs froze the field and had him looked at it. So that is the reason why the 3 car is still starting from the 4th row.
Yeah, so he's got very lucky in the fact that he never went through qualifying tech because of that crash. So in many respects, he is the luckiest person to have crashed at Indy because he's kept his grid position. Is that fair? Is that a good position? That, he was caught cheating, but he didn't get a chance to cheat. It's like finding drugs in an athlete's locker, as you said earlier, Jackson, but he hasn't taken them yet. The intent was there. Is the intent to do it like attempted? Like how we've got murder and attempted murder. You've got murder 1 and 2 with the Penskes that have actively gone through tech, actively qualified, and then you've got Joseph Newgarden on attempted charge. He's still going to charge the attempted. He's got away with it so much now, and now arguably could get in a position to win.
Don't forget that he has lost, as you mentioned, Kyle Moyer from his team. So they haven't completely got away from it. But I think I said at the time when all this came out, it was a good job that Scott had the accident on in that morning session because he was kind of out of the way of all the stuff that's happened with the other two cars.
And looking at this technical view of it as well, there's a highly respected motorsport mechanic of Bozy Tatarovich who's wrote an article on motorsport.com explaining this whole situation with the alternators. He starts off by explaining that the primary job of the alternator is to absorb impacts in a crash and reduce the G-forces felt by a driver. Now, in the last couple of years, there's been updates made to the alternators, but according to an anonymous source of motorsport.com, Team Penske received the updated ones from July in early 2024. However, members of Team Penske's leadership team simply didn't like how it looked. So a member of the technical leadership allegedly gave orders to clean up the edges on the pieces in order to make them look, well, just bright glue stand out less so. The technicians applied a dark compound to the edges and smoothed them out a bit. Now, apparently, the modified alternators have been around for quite a while. And while they were missed as members of the media travelled to the IMS Museum to visit Joseph Newgarden's 2024 Indy 500 winning car. So, technically, it was there because based on photos from the media, it appears that Newgarden's winning car had an illegally modified alternator. It does make you wonder how IndyCar's technical inspection missed this during the inspection process if Team Penske had this on the rear of their cars for a while now. Now, Tatarovich explained that sources from IndyCar paddock said that the only reason the modified alternators were discovered was due to other teams urging IndyCar's technical department to take a closer look at Team Penske's cars. He also said that the team likely didn't gain a competitive advantage from using a modified alternator. But after he looked at Rule 14.7.8.16.1 in the IndyCar rulebook, he mentioned there were 16 lines of parts teams can modify, but the rear alternator was not on the list. Therefore, although the modified alternator didn't make the car go any faster, Team Penske still broke the rules. Now, Tatarovich ended his informative piece by saying that Team Penske should have presented the parts to IndyCar officials if they wanted to modify them and should have gotten approval before moving forward. He also called out the IndyCar folks responsible for technical inspection procedures because they've missed this in tech for what seems to be over a year now and only caught on it when rival teams sounded the alarm. In addition, he suggested that IndyCar should consider introducing digital imaging of bodywork like we see in NASCAR and IMSA, which can quickly catch any body part that might be out of spec. The link to this article is in the video description below. I want to add to that as well, Formula One have been trialing that, and Formula One actually go a step further by every time the car is rebuilt in a major way, that the FIA and the teams have to make sure that it is laser scanned in the correct way and that all cars are legal. And if there's anything different, they get flagged up later in the FIA checks post sessions. 2024 winner, Indy 500, Joseph Newgarden. Asterisk. Yeah.
Amber, you can take that asterisk away right now because Doug Bowles confirmed today to the press, and Marshall reported on this, that there will be 0 changes to the 2024 results. There was a little bit of talk at the start of the week that might have been justified. Let's put out this fire, too, from a day in the life. Of course, he crashed because he didn't know how to drive without a modified attenuator. Brother, I really don't think, I'm not an engineer. I think you're maybe getting 3 more miles an hour of maybe a third more of a mile an hour into turn 1 with that modified attenuator. I really don't think you're getting any more downforce as a result. So if Scott is suddenly struggling to, not drive a car when he has that much less speed, although obviously speed equals downforce, but we're going on a bird walk here. I'm sorry, boys. Let's get back to it.
I was just going to mention Marshall just literally tweeted that story out about 2024 as Josh was doing the run through there. I just saw that as he was doing that. So that nothing is changing. the media or people all went scurrying to the museum, didn't they, over the weekend to look at last year's car, which is parked in the museum, and went, look, it's the same.
Right.
Which of course caused even more disruption. So there is how it's made, is how I understand it. There is gaps in the attenuator. What Penske have decided to do was smooth the gaps over to basically make it look better. It hasn't given them any kind of performance advantage, so they say, but air goes where air goes, and they've tried to make it not go in said holes and such like. So that's what they've done. And they've, as I said before, they've been caught with their fingers in the cookie jar trying to get away with it. I mean, there was a comment there, I think it was from Denver, saying this would be an instant disqualification in NASCAR. Yeah, it would, because NASCAR have much like Josh was saying about with Formula 1, the laser scanners and such like. I think IndyCar really does need, this is a wake-up call to their scrutineering and tech, that they need to be up on this, because was it Will Power's car went through pre-qualifying tech first, it was spotted, but nothing was said, and then once Joseph Newgarden's car came through, then we had the rumblings and they were moved and etc., and they went on from there. So surely that would have been, it's wrong, throw it out, you need to go and change that and come back and try again, much like we see with NASCAR when they have multiple chances to get through tech before they're put to the back of the field, long pit lane penalties at the start of the races, whatever, etc., etc. So the scrutineering stuff really needs to be tidied up. I mean, where we go from, we'll never speak of an attenuator again here until maybe this time next year, when of course this story will come back up again, or when we're next on oval, which I believe is Gateway, isn't it? I think the next oval in a few weeks' time. So massive scrutineering changes need to be done in the paddock, because this has caused ructions and a huge mess.
Yeah, I agree with. Oh, go on, Kirby. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Matt. Gateway is going to be coming up in a few weeks' time. We just talked about it recently on Grid Tonight. I think it might have been last week when they announced that Gateway is going to be on the night of Father's Day in prime time on Fox. So a big opportunity for IndyCar there to be in front of a large audience once you've gotten all your Father's Day plans out of the way. And I also wanted to touch on Scott McLaughlin as well. And IndyCar, in the initial press release when they announced the penalties, moving Newgarden and Power to the back of the grid, they said despite the hard crash McLaughlin had, IndyCar still was able to look at his attenuator, and they were able to see that it was not modified in any way. So it was just the number 2 and the number 12 cars that had the modified attenuators, while Scott McLaughlin's was perfectly legal. So he didn't do anything wrong in that instance. But given all the conflicts of interest, and stuff like that, it seems like Penske Entertainment, the group that owns the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, they're strongly looking at implementing an independent governing body for IndyCar, and I think that will go a long way, into squashing some of this conflict of interest. Talking, people are being like, why is this team being treated differently than us and all that? Why are they allowed to get away with this for this long? And I think that would be a really good thing. And it was really interesting because earlier, in the week, it was like that this was something that we're thinking about well into the future. And now, after today, it seems like that this is something that IndyCar is, trying to do as soon as possible. And I think they need to do that. So I'm glad that they're moving in that direction. And as I said on Monday night, I'm not an engineer, I'm not a mechanic, so I don't understand all of this wonderful technical stuff that Bozy, understands better than we all do. And I'm going to take their word for it that Team Penske did not really gain much of an advantage, by modifying this. And that's much better, than using push to pass when you weren't allowed to. But, still, the optics, still haven't really looked good. But given, what we've heard from IndyCar President Doug Bowles and Roger Penske doing that sit-down interview on Fox Sports with Jamie Little just a short while ago that was published online, I think that it's a step in the right direction, but we all know this story is still not going to be going away anytime soon.
Yeah, first of all, we got to give a huge tip of the cap to Bozy, who, I mean, has had a long road racing history, has been the crew chief for Vassar Sullivan Racing and been behind that Lexus program for years, but I mean, is as talented with a pen as he is with a gear. So he's been really, really fun to kind of dive in and write. Would love to see that guy more in IndyCar. But going into this actual breakdown of technical inspection, gentlemen, two things really come to mind for me where number one, yes, this is by and large a spec series, but there is so much that is still very much up for development, most of that being within the suspension side of things. And if I am under the category of a technical inspector, I would be more focused on making sure that all of those open development parts of the car, when they're coming through tech, are within the reasonable amounts of adjustment and someone isn't totally bringing something illegal in that area. That being said, I broke this down a little bit yesterday on Outlet Media, but the attenuator itself is what I like to call a Lego part. Not only does it serve as a safety feature to absorb energy, but if we have a Nashville 22 type scenario, right, where someone ramps up against someone and just totally wipes out the rear wing, you are able to fairly easily, like a front wing, take that off and put it back on. So it is designed by nature to have that little bit of wiggle room. So it doesn't take a blowtorch and some insane elbow grease to jam that thing in there if you need to replace it during a pit stop. So by design, that wiggle room should always be there, regardless of open wheeler type, regardless of what it is doing. But when you are so focused, going back to the tech inspectors, when there are so many things that can be modified that you need to focus on, I feel like it is a little bit understandable to understand or to get why you could look at the car and at an immediate glance why there isn't anything wrong with the car. Because it took me a couple of looks and seeing what was going on and before having it thoroughly explained to me, guys, knowing what I was supposed to be looking at, what was supposed to be wrong.
We filmed a feature on the touchscreen for the pre-show coming up, and it took me a few minutes to go, where is it? And I've been looking at it for a week. I'm like, it's hard
it's
to
only IndyCar where we talk about this. No other single-seater championship that I am aware of runs one, let alone get talked about like it does. When Kyle Larson had his crash on Friday, it was, he's been saved by the attenuator because he backed it, it saved a lot of the damage.
Marcus Armstrong, Saturday morning, exact same.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm.
So maybe, do you reckon that could have also been a factor of it? The fact is that we saw the other teams getting zoomed in so much because we had so many identical accidents. And then as soon as Scott McLaughlin's goes, everyone sees that it's just a little bit different. And then the other teams go up and down looking at the other cars and go, oh, yeah, that is different to us, isn't it?
I really do think it comes down to just a single I think it just comes down to, if anything, if this is true, Chip Ganassi may be seeing that something was wrong with that car and potentially pointing that out to IndyCar techs. One more thing really, really quickly as I'm running around here. Ben Schneider also mentioning these are things that have just already happened, right? You can't just take away some things that have already happened unless you're, of course, Lance Armstrong. But the Astros 2017 World Series, Barry Bonds with the home run record. Those are things that have been bricked together moment by moment, right? That's not something you can simply erase from history, right? So as controversial as it is, one, we don't really know what the performance gain is genuinely, although it's clearly enough to be marginal. But as Ben says, taking a win 45 days in the past was messy enough. I don't think you want to open the can of worms there. Yes, although last thing, and we can start landing this plane on the IndyCar side of things tonight, drivers are upset. Fans are upset. Team owners are upset. There is one big thing that Marshall Pruitt mentioned as well on Racer that we have not mentioned, and that is one of the OEMs that has been, I don't want to say threatening, but mentioning the possibility of departing IndyCar following the new regs. HRC, if there are moments that Honda will look at for reasons to leave, it is going to be St. Pete. It's going to be Long Beach last year when they got caught again doing it and finally had that taken away. And it's going to be right now. If you want to not just keep your current OEMs, but keep hunting for that sacred third OEM, third engine supplier that we have spent over 10 years now trying to find after Lotus had a dog water car, these are the things that are going to keep us as a series going nowhere. Not just in the fact of fairness, but in us growing. And that is the bottom line for me.
There is an interesting thing when it comes to Honda. They are just about getting back into MotoGP with their HRC program with the engine developers. The bike is just coming back into it. And Zarco was an example when he won. He was on a Honda,
It's
and he was able to get that gap away from the rest of the field, including Mark, because it had the pace. So they're better in Indy. They're better now in MotoGP, whether they seriously were looking like they're going to pull out after they lost Repsol. Honda is now secure in Formula One. There's talks of them joining the One Endurance Championship if Acura actually want to take that over. So there's not really a sort of interest. If it fails in IndyCar, they can just go, all right, fine, we'll go elsewhere when we're winning championships.
What HRC is genuinely talking about in Torrance right now is NASCAR is only getting bigger once again. They've been teasing at the possibility of that forever. And you are in, as John Doonan puts it, the platinum age now of sports car racing, and Acura heavily involved, but still zero plans of going over to jumping the Atlantic and doing the 24 hours of Le Mans and doing the World Endurance Championship. Something is going to have to give on the four-wheel side, and if it does, it's going to be IndyCar to at least some extent. Either half of the team suddenly are engineless, or the program is cut altogether if they want to go try doing either.
They did it again at Long Beach, yeah. There's a couple of things that brew up, don't they, as well? But I don't want to mess this here. I think that should be the title of this Tonight Show as well. Denver says that independent board should be all teams in IndyCar, team census involved with a view of IndyCar in mind. Well, yes, but that's too close to what we had with FOTA, the Formula One Teams Association.
If you have people from the teams involved in an independent board, it's not independent.
No, F1 has showed us how bad that can go when we nearly had the breakaway series.
In some more food for thought, team got fined $200,000. Where is that money going? In one pocket, out one pocket, into the other? Where?
Well, indeed, yeah. There is that, isn't there? You know, and I'll mention it yet again because every time we talk about Roger Penske in IndyCar, we were so excited about when this all came out however many years ago. Oh my goodness, here we go with IndyCar. As you mentioned, Jackson, it's gone nowhere. Now we've had all this again. Roger is part owner in Ilmore, who build the engines for his cars and half the field for Chevrolet.
Which is why we are not afraid about Chevy leaving, audience.
Yeah, indeed. It is bad times in the IndyCar paddock, really is.
I can tell you exactly where that money is going. It is going from the American account to the Swiss account of Roger Penske. Just straight over.
Offshore.
Yeah, just straight into transfer as well. And it's poacher turned gamekeeper while still poaching. And it's a bizarre one to go through.
This is something
thank you very much.
Thank you so much. We do need to ask ourselves with this, because God, this is the exact kind of thing that would happen. And a driver has not won the 500 from the back row since the Great Depression. But if anyone could,
it's Joseph Newgarden.
God, it would be Joseph Newgarden. It would so be Joseph Newgarden.
Is he 32nd or 33rd on the grid? Where did they put him?
I think Newgarden is 32nd, and then Power is 33rd. As we're not going to thank the dead and alive here for our second super chat of this show. Got $30 so far. So thank you, Amber. Thank you, Dan. Like you said, the vibe here is surreal. Hope you're having fun there at the Big Wood Speedway Bar. Sound like it's a lot of fun there in Speedway, Indiana. He said if a Penske car wins, might be bad look for IndyCar. I know, Joe, we were talking about this earlier. You say you're curious to see how Roger is greeted when he is about to give the command to start the engines, or McLaughlin, Power, Newgarden during driver
seen
intros.
The commissioner of the NFL come out during the Super Bowl? It's going to be just, it's that.
No, during the NFL draft every single year.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but I wonder if
Rob Manfred during the MLB draft. There's never, you as a fan are almost doing the sport you love a disservice if there's not at least like a little bit of booze for whoever's running the show.
Are we going to see if a Penske car wins? And let's say it is Joseph, because when people haven't been talking about Newgarden in the penalty sphere, they've been saying, God, that car is fast. And he's going to come from the back and he's going to make his show. If he wins, are IndyCar going to have their Jeff Gordon Talladega moment from all those years ago with all of the beer cans on the front straightaway at Indianapolis on Sunday?
Yeah, I bet Joseph doesn't run into the crowd this year, right?
Could be coming.
Hey, why are you all booing me?
Don't run into the crowd this year, Joseph. Don't do it.
Running to pitchforks as well.
Right.
This is going to be one of the best 500s we've seen in a while because of the drama around it.
And
it is
to pick up on before we move on to the next part, to pick up on a comment that Joe put in the chat a little while ago. This has taken the sheen away from all of the things this week. What are we, 35 minutes into the show? Can I mention the words Robert Schwartzman?
SoundCloud rapper on pole position. Let's go, baby.
I was amazed. And me and Kobe, when we hosted the show last week on Monday, we were saying, how bad is this for Prema?
We talked about it last Wednesday when I was on.
Yeah, I apologize on Monday to Prema. Yes, I'm sorry, Prema. I wasn't familiar with your game.
I was shocked, and what a good story. The Europeans have come over and have given the Americans a jolly good thrashing. So that's going to be good.
Learning from Carlin's mistakes, man. You really got to love it, and they've done a really good job. I had the pleasure of talking to Dwayne Ellwanger, who's actually in the ears of Schwartzman this season as his spotter. And they've clearly done their homework and brought in a lot of really great guys, not just from international racing, and have told them to kind of take everything with a grain of salt. This isn't going to be a walk in the park, but brought in a good amount of guys, ex-Team Penske guys, ex-Ganassi guys, a really good pie chart of experience here to really, really make this happen. Oh, yeah, and he has a single tub, and any mistake he makes here, it's instantly, they got to make that work no matter what. I really think we do got to land this plane, though, and that is still a phenomenal story. And even with all of this controversy right now, Matt Owens with our third super chat of the day, bringing the heat and bringing the cash with a great point. In all honesty, I don't care about this right now. I'll care next Tuesday, but nothing uproots or takes the lights off the Indianapolis 500. Guys, it's the first sellout since 2016. We'll know as a God-given fact, 350,000 people will be there watching. And I guarantee you, because of this cheating scandal, no one is going home or canceling their plans as a result of that.
It's literally all bumbling, isn't it? It's like it's going to be fantastic. The blackout's been lifted. If you're watching us over there as well in the sports bars, you get to watch it on television in there. You get to have packed out atmospheres. Family and friends are going to be watching this one. And for once, it honestly feels like after a poor start to the season with IndyCar, where we've been battling the viewers, battling the track, battling the cars, everything's coming together to give us a great 500. And Ben said that he wasn't interested, but he's interested now because this month of May has been spectacular. And I really am hopeful we're going to see a good one now. It's certainly going to be entertaining because we've got literally the rookie, the winner, and then the guy who's won everything this season at different points in the field on completely different strategies. And who knows what's going to happen. And that's the beauty of this race. Forget about the first 150 laps. It's all about the last 50. And that is what IndyCar is all about. Behind the mic, hello, Matthew. It's a story. It's not the story. No one is bigger than the Indianapolis or the 500. That's true. But when the guy who owns Indianapolis is involved in it, you kind of have to...
You can't take the whimsy out of this race, brother.
No, I'm saying get the Microsoft out a little bit as well and just go... But if the Penske wins... I hope they have crash barriers to put up against the fences to stop the fans storming in. All I'm saying.
Josh, we've been on such a bird walk. Let's talk about what happens now that Tim is out of here.
Yeah, because the big shock, of course, was that IndyCar team president for Penske, Tim Cindric, has been let go. He is the father of the NASCAR Cup Series driver, Austin Cindric. Now, when you compare Austin to his teammates, Ryan Blaney and Joey Logano, he hasn't reached the same level of success as them at NASCAR's highest level. He's currently 13th in points and has one win so far this season. But let's just remind people that was at Talladega. Now, with his father being let go by Team Penske today, it means many are now wondering about Austin's future with the team. The photo has been taken by Sean Gardner from Getty Images. Matt, to you first of all with this one. Does today's news from IndyCar make Austin Cindric's job in NASCAR awkward? And do you think there will be even more pressure on him to perform now since his dad is no longer with the team?
Nepotism, eh?
Don't call Carlos Sainz.
You're more on that later. I'm sure. Where does this leave Austin Cindric? Well, he'll have his dad to support him at Charlotte on Sunday. He's free now again, much like he was last year. I think it was Tanner that brought it up in our chat earlier on in the day. Said, he's got a chance to go and watch his boy race for a bit now. So that's going to be interesting to see if Tim is spotted over the Charlotte Way this weekend. Where does it leave Austin Cindric? I don't think it changes anything to do with Austin Cindric whatsoever. But what a story it might be if after 600 miles on Sunday night at Charlotte, if Kyle Larson doesn't win the race, then if Austin Cindric can do it. Goodness me,
man.
that just the spoon in the pot is turning all of the time, isn't it? If Austin Cindric ends up winning the race on Sunday night.
Austin Cindric out of 4 for the final time with his new strategist, Tim Cindric for Team Penske, learning lessons from his father. No. I mean, the simple matter of fact here is there's a lot of different stuff at Team Penske, and I don't know what this schism between Tim and the team truly mean, but I would not be surprised if this is a carbon copy of what we saw after St. Pete and Long Beach, right? Where he spends a little bit of time with the GTP team in IMSA, or, goes over to Europe. I think at the end of the day, though, we've got to realize that, Austin's his own guy. There's absolutely been some strings pulled, but he's done a lot of operation independently with Ford Performance, with a lot of the guys at Multimatic, how he worked his way into the Proton competition squad to go do the 24 hours of Daytona. And I believe Sebring as well. The guy is talented. You don't win in the Cup Series without a little bit of luck, obviously, but talent has absolutely worked his way into a seat and into victory lane. But man, I think Tim, there's a lot of ways Tim Cindric can go from here. Dad could stick around with Penske. And I would not be surprised to see both of them working a box in IMSA in half a decade's time. But man, we could have a case of the Hertas in NASCAR. I really think we could see some father-son strategist-driver dynamic here. I think probably the fan base and the Paddock's reaction in the Cup Series to Tim coming in is kind of like a convict being sent to a new prison, maybe. But we shall have to see. Gateway was luck. You cannot tell me that you can drive for 4 seasons at Team Penske and not get caned. The guy's talented. I'll die on that hill. And whether he stays in Cup or not, we'll see. But I think he will use those Ford Performance connections absolutely to end up in he's not going anywhere in Top Flight Motorsports in the next 5 years. Either of them. Believe it.
To the points there about where he's won, I think generally we all expected when he made the step up from the Xfinity Series to the Cup Series, he was going to win on a road course. I don't think he's really been in the conversation at any of the road courses so far, Austin Cindric, in any of the races in 3 or 4 years. So that's perhaps still to come. But yeah, all of that machinations, this is the after party of the stuff that we've been talking about, really, isn't it? Of what could happen next.
God, the story of NASCAR Tim Cindric, though, imagine. It's not going to happen, but
the next Chad Canals.
Nagano and Blaney have combined to win 3 straight Cup titles. He has to make a deep playoff run at the very least. Yeah, that's another point as well. To get in and make it a long. Can he make it Championship 4? I don't think he can.
No. Not over those other 2 unless they have a problem.
Logano definitely, I think, is everybody's shoo-in, isn't he? Because he loves the new format and can't see a problem with it. Whereas everybody else
bringing us the stats, Austin, with just 3 career road course top 5s, a second at IMS in 2022.
So, moving away from this crazy-filled story from Penske after 45 minutes, let's move on to NASCAR, and a bit more of a happier story as well, because yesterday NASCAR announced the 2026 Hall of Fame class as well. Starting with the modern era ballot, Kurt Busch and Harry Gant were elected to the Hall of Fame next year. Busch won the 2004 Cup Series as well, with 34 Cup races as wins behind him, including the Crown Jewel victories in the 2017 Daytona 500 and the 2010 Coca-Cola 600, plus his unique story of reaching the highest of highest, falling to the lowest of lows, and redeeming himself in the end. Gant won 18 times in Cup Series, 21 times in the Xfinity Series, and has 2 Crown Jewel wins in the Southern 500. In 1991, he went on an unprecedented 4-race winning streak at 51 years old. Gant also earned multiple nicknames over the years, such as Handsome Harry, Mr. September, the Bandit, and more. Now, coming from the Pioneer ballot, the man nicknamed Mr. Modified, Ray Hendrick, will be honoured alongside Busch and Gant early next year. Between 1955 and 1980, Hendrick won over 700 races in modified and late model sportsman series. Now, despite winning all of those modified races, Hendrick never won a championship, but many enjoyed the Virginia Natives Flying 11 paint scheme. Even I remember that one as well from die-cast models when I was a kid. That shows you how old NASCAR has been popular here in the UK. Now, last but not least, Humpy Wheeler, the Landmark Award winner for this year for his time as president and general manager at Charlotte Motor Speedway, becoming one of the most iconic race promoters in NASCAR history. Wheeler's big shining moment was his leading role in promoting the Winston in 1992, an event later known as the All-Star Race. On that one hot night in 1992, Wheeler put on the first night race on a super speedway, despite many initially thinking it was a crazy idea. 2026 NASCAR Hall of Fame class will be inducted on the night of January 23rd, 2026. The graphic here courtesy of NASCAR. Matt with me as well to discuss it. What are your initial thoughts on next year's Hall of Fame class, and how come it's already time to pick another? It doesn't seem 5 minutes since last year.
Yeah, I mean, they won't go in properly, will they, until the new year, so they've got a little bit of time to wait. I think it's probably gone the way most people suspected. As you mentioned, Kurt Busch's career path was, let me hand on screen, up, trough, and then back up again. I mean, both sides of the trough are Hall of Fame careers, so it's great for him to get in. Be interesting to see what he says in his speech, and all that come January. Harry Gant probably should have been in a couple of years ago. Perhaps he's been on the list for quite some time. And yeah, nice for Humpy Wheeler to be going in there in the Pioneer ballot, especially as we are, of course, going to Charlotte this weekend and off the back of the All-Star race last weekend. So that kind of all ties up nicely with all the things you just mentioned, Josh, and the success of the All-Star race over the sort of the glory years of the All-Star race, let's say, back in the early days, and of course the 600 as well. Adam remembers the 92 race very well indeed.
One hot night as well. I saw a book about that earlier on, actually, that was published as well. Somebody put on the NASCAR Fans UK area as well. Very happy to see Handsome Harry Gant finally getting into NASCAR Hall of Fame. Deserved it, says Adam as well, to come through. Denver says Kurt Busch is a deserved nominee. And other one of the drivers that didn't finish his career with Swanson races, they said, yeah. I agree. I very much agree to that.
Should have had a better send-off than what happened to Kurt. Of course, he was parked with the concussion stuff.
They should give him a fanfare. Don't know why they didn't.
Yeah, that would have been nice to see something, especially as a Daytona 500 winner and a Cup champion. Ben says satisfied with these picks. Neil Bonnet is still long overdue. We have too many recent greats who have retired that the Gants and the Bonnets of the world are having to wait far too long for. This is the problem with NASCAR Hall of Fame being such a modern thing when the sport has been going for such a long time. Unless we add spots every year and put more people in, this is unfortunately the way it's going to be.
But then, is it really a Hall of Fame or a Hall of ex-drivers? That's the danger. You've got to be careful about who you add in as well. They've got to deserve the Hall of Fame nominee as well. It's not like in LA where if you pay a couple of bucks, you get your name on a star somewhere. So these are the real stars. Breaking down the numbers. Oh, good. Busch and Gant received 61% of the modern era ballot votes. Jeff Burton came in third, then Harry Hyde and Randy Dalton. Ray Hendrick received 31% of the Pioneer ballot votes, and Bob Wellborn took the runner-up spot. Our own Ben Schneider had a lot to say about this topic. He posted that Gant was overdue to get in, as he's told us here tonight, but he feels frustrated that Neil Bonnet still hasn't got in. Ben brought up a good point about the road ahead not getting any easier for those still looking to get in, because he believes that Kevin Harvick will be a lock-in in 2027, and Martin Truex Jr. and near lock-in in 2028. He added that legends of our generation deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, but so do the pioneers as well. NASCAR is currently including 3 members to the Hall of Fame every year, and there are some people out there who believe we need to increase the number of inductees each year from 3 to 4, maybe even 5. And as she just said as well, and I'll ask you the direct question, should they consider increasing the number of inductees each year, since the list of nominees will get even more competitive in the next few years? I suppose we also have been in a golden era of NASCAR. I know everyone says, oh, that was late 90s, early 2000s, but there's been more competitive drivers in this generation winning more titles again and again.
Yeah, so serves me right for not properly reading ahead in the script. I mean, Jimmy Johnson was not a unanimous pick. Let me just throw that one out there now. A couple of years ago when he went in, you just say we've just come out of this era of Johnsons, Gordons, Labontes, Stewarts, Harvick about to go, Truex, Carl Edwards last year. Real big up in light names in the NASCAR Cup Series, and with like us doing this show and others, there's so much more coverage now, whereas those guys that did all those remarkable things back in the day on the beach at Daytona and such, like on all the short tracks that have now left the calendar and elsewhere, like your Neil Bonnets, to Ben's point, if they don't get in, they will end up being forgotten about by the new guys that are, you know, just out of the sport. So yeah, perhaps adding another spot, even if they make it a 4, going forward, perhaps. What discussion that is under from NASCAR, who knows? Probably none. But yeah, you would think that some of these guys that have been on the list for a long time, just for being on the list for a long time, perhaps deserve to at least get in at some stage. Otherwise, they'll end up just sitting there forevermore, being passed over by the new people added to the list, much like Kurt Busch this year.
We've got some breaking news to bring in now before we go on to our third story. We're going to bring Jackson back in as well. This just in while we're on air. Jackson, welcome back. You've got some very big breaking news from this Penske story.
Yep, still trying to get the proper bits and pieces together here, Josh. But Doug Boles, within the hour, has confirmed that IndyCar officiating will try to go in a evolved manner in both the Speedway and at both the Speedway and the remainder of the IndyCar Series rounds for technical inspection. That will be, quote, completely separate from Penske Entertainment and oversight from the team or the ownership. So going to be very interesting to see what Doug cooks up. Ball is clearly in his court. Obviously, some fan names have been mentioned. Charlie Kimball, J.R. Hildebrand, Sage Karam, guys that have not only shown interest in potentially doing it, but also guys who have guys who know wheel very well, know the car inside and out. So we'll try and get you some more info here as I can gather it. But already here, some really, really good moves from Doug Boles to try and move on from these incidents.
Yeah, one thing I'm reading as well is a quote here that Honda isn't willing to speak on the record, but simply put, Penske Entertainment has lost Honda's trust and the trust of a growing number of team owners, crew members, drivers, fans, and sponsors. So there's a big story brewing there. We'll bring you more as the show goes on. We'll let Jackson and Kobe do some more digging behind,
Maybe
and we'll
not,
move on.
Maybe not.
Yeah, that's
might be too
it
late.
Enough? No, I don't. I think
might be
there's a
too
lot
late.
to do. Right, we'll get the boys to a different part quickly of an emergency news update on that. Let's move on quickly to the rest of our script to give the boys a chance. And during our shows last week, covering Indianapolis 500 practice, we talked about Simon Pagenaud returning to the NTT IndyCar Series paddock in a non-driving but more hands-on role at the track. Pagenaud has returned with his old team Penske, ironically enough, to help Scott McLaughlin navigate the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But we've recently learned that Pagenaud plans to expand on helping other drivers by mentoring another young French driver in Theo Pourchaire. Now, it all started when Pagenaud showed support for Pourchaire on social media after he made his IndyCar debut last year at Long Beach. Since then, Pagenaud has become a mentor to Pourchaire, who'd like to make IndyCar his full-time home in the future and have a career like Pagenaud, where he can compete in IndyCar and enter major endurance racing in sports cars as well. Now, Pagenaud said the motorsports world is demanding and talent alone is not always enough, crediting how meeting certain people like Sébastien Bourdais and the late Gilles de Ferran were decisive in his career process. He added that Pourchaire left a strong impression during his brief stint with our McLaren last year and believes the young Frenchman belongs at an elite level of motorsports. While Pagenaud doesn't want to overwork himself by managing a large handful of drivers, in this new chapter of his life, he wants to use his experience to help young talent like Pourchaire, and he's confident his new mantra can go far. Now, Pourchaire will be attending the Indy 500 this weekend and meeting people. The link to this video is in the description below, and the photo taken by Joe Sapinski from Penske Entertainment as well. Jackson, come to you on this one if you are not too busy. How big is this for Théo Pourchaire's career to have someone like Simon Pagenaud on his side to support racing ambitions?
We'll get to that really quickly. Let's land this plane. This is from Bob Pockris for Fox Sports. They don't normally look at the attenuator, which is there for safety, because no impact on performance. So my theory on the open development side of things was kind of right, sort of. I'll take a gold star if chat gives me one. I'm still unsure why they actually noticed it Sunday. Obviously, rumors that Chip Ganassi might have been a tip, but we're not confirmed on that. They will not change the results of other events where this may have been caught. Indy 500 from last year being confirmed. And the official kind of blur here we got from Bob is working to create an officiating or tech entity that has zero influence potential from Penske. So good stuff there. And we can talk about that momentarily. But getting back on track here. Théo Pourchaire, I was not expecting a rookie to come in and start their career, no matter the equipment, but get into an IndyCar for the first time ever and get a top 10 on the streets of Long Beach. There's no doubt that this kid is special and has some insane talent. And had it not been for some business decisions that went against him, and a little bit more faith in his ability to drive on the ovals, I think we would still be seeing Théo Pourchaire in this series right now. That being said, I think we need to also realize the jobs that Simon Pagenaud has done since we last saw him behind the wheel with Meyer-Shank Racing. The guy has been in Scott McLaughlin's ears, gotten him comfortable with the ovals, was in his earpiece to help him work his way to his first ever oval victory at Iowa last year. This guy has been in a mentorship role, and for him to help his other countrymen of Théo Pourchaire and work as that advisor role, it's what we've seen with Tony Kanaan and Nolan Siegel. You want to jump over to F1? Mark Webber, Oscar Piastri. I think this is a phenomenal combination. Some great mentorship that we've seen from Simon Pagenaud, as already mentioned, but you combine that with that extra little oval expertise that Pagenaud has. Mind you, a guy that drove last to first for Team Penske at Iowa. This is a guy that came from sports car racing and traditional formula racing and had to cross that bridge himself to get to learn how to get an open wheeler around an oval as fast as possible. This guy knows how to cross that bridge. He's helped Scott McLaughlin to do it, and I think it is going to, with this kind of help for Théo Pourchaire, this kid could be unbeatable. Next Sébastien Bourdais stuff, genuinely.
Yes, Jackson. I'm really excited for Théo Pourchaire. I feel like that he's one of the best young talents available. If we're looking at the list of drivers who are currently not in IndyCar who could potentially be looking for an IndyCar ride in the future, I think he has to definitely be in the top 2, top 3 on my list. And I agree with Simon, that he was very impressive last year, during his brief stint with Aaron McLaren. I thought Théo showed us, that he has what it takes to, be one of the top talents in IndyCar someday if he's given the right opportunity. It's unfortunate he wasn't able to finish out the season last year, for reasons that we don't really need to get into, just a so-called business decision there, which is really unfortunate on Teo's end. And this year, he got the reserve seat, in the World Endurance Championship with Pagenaud and all of that. Also got some running in LMP2 as well. So Théo is, still staying busy and all of that. But To see this story come up yesterday, quite a surprise to me because I feared, Teo was unfortunately going to be one of those drivers who are just going to get, caught up by the business side, and we won't see him back in IndyCar again. But it's good to see that he's still committed to making IndyCar his full-time home in the future. And I think it's really special. You have the elder Frenchman, Simon Pagenaud, who's forever a legend of IndyCar in the Indianapolis 500. And then you have a young Frenchman, Théo Pourchaire, who has an amazing amount of talent. I think that this is great to have this mentor and mentee relationship. Looking forward to seeing where it goes. Hopefully, it'll lead to some openness for Théo next year. Whether it's a part-time role or a full-time role. I think it'll be really great for him to get down to the speedway this week and meet people, as we all know in this business. And networking is really important. So if Simon can introduce him to the right people and all of that, maybe we could see Théo Pourchaire back on an IndyCar grid sometime soon. But I'm really happy for Théo that he's connected with Simon, because there's no better person to connect with than an IndyCar and an Indy 500 champion. But I'm also excited for Simon as well, because he's really been through a lot, in the last couple of years, with that concussion he suffered, that awful rollover at Mid-Ohio, and then trying to hopefully come back to racing now, obviously doesn't look like that's going to happen. So for Simon to find some peace in this new chapter in his life, I'm really happy that he can find some joy, helping the Scott McLaughlins of the world conquer IMS, and also try to jumpstart an IndyCar career for Théo Pourchaire, because I think Théo Pourchaire is the real deal.
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything the guys have said. Simon doing with Teo what Gilles de Ferran did with him, brought him into the sports car paddock sort of towards the end of the American Le Mans Series days. That then vaulted him into IndyCar. Now, of course, Pourchaire is going to sports cars after being, Josh, you'll probably remember when he was in F2 and coming up the Formula One paddock ladder. He was never really tied to a Formula One team, was he? Like the Red Bull Junior program or Alpine or Aston Martin now, with a couple of guys or whatever else, McLaren. But he got there and he did it all, and he managed to win the championship without being tied. Joe Jackson says, shows how talented the guy is. He came in at Long Beach last year on a whim, basically, got a top 10. Even more of a whim was when he came in at Toronto, when Alex Rossi broke his hand,
amazing,
as a substitute, and was just really, really good.
After McLaren treated him like crap. And he was still a professional. Amazing.
I think he's still getting checks from Zach Brown. I could be wrong, but we gotta also, we gotta consider a couple things here, guys, because we do have a lot of. I don't want you to expect Simon Pagenaud is suddenly going to get this kid in an IndyCar seat, because yes, Connor Daly's future, even for the remainder of this season, is in jeopardy. But should something happen there, you can almost rest assured that there will be some arrangement for Prema. We know as a God-given fact, Romain Grosjean is on standby. For RLL, our friend. Oh my gosh, I'm butchering it right now. RLL also does have a reserve driver, and those guys are expected to fill in for a variety of teams, especially if there's affiliations there, be it by manufacturer or technical alliance. So I don't want us to suddenly expect someone to pop in or for a magical opportunity to open here. And obviously the business side of things is still that kind of final Rubicon. You got to bring funding, especially in the top flight teams, to really make this work.
How long before I mention that there's already rumblings he might do a couple of races in Formula One this year?
Really?
There's no way.
Yeah, couple.
Is it with a French team?
Oh, sorry, excuse me, Chad.
Is he certainly with a French team? Yeah. And you can all guess which one to go in. But yeah, there's a couple of rumblings.
We must have the guy in the IndyCar paddock with the best nickname in the IndyCar paddock in a racing car. Please get Teddy Porkchops back in a car.
Yeah.
Oh dear. I mean, maybe Colton Herta could call him to say goodnight. That saves to me.
That was awesome.
The calmest prank we've done this year, isn't it, as well? Come on. Hacksaw. I miss Hacksaw. Come on.
Scott McLaughlin had a porta potty outside of his bus this morning.
Yep.
Oh, did he
It
really?
started at the buzzer. It's happened.
I love this. TK's bike getting sold in half was certainly my favorite one.
Oh, yep.
Actually, I don't know. The Orbeez was quite fun. The glitter bombs as well was good in Daly's truck.
I remember the signature battle between Simon and Joseph. Joseph got pulled over, and made him sign his own ticket so that Joseph could have it framed. And that was like a whole year building up to the speedway. So Sage Karam with the pace car.
Yeah, it's just perfect how many little things happen over the month with drivers. The horn was my favorite. I take it back. The cowbell horn that we went around from several different trucks going off at different times of night. That was hilarious. Denver says IndyCar teams are revoking against Penske Entertainment and Penske. I say I'm not surprised. I think it's Chip and Zach Brown leading this insurrection against Penske. Zach Brown, I would say yes, because he can't resist a fight. Is Zach Brown? He's very much he likes to make it known what's going on. Yeah, tire water.
AJ Foyt and Roger Penske are deep into the 80s, but I guarantee you the final fight from Up was almost in order if AJ made it to the speedway at that point and found out about it.
Well, he was there, wasn't he? He was there. And
I'd imagine he was.
Yeah.
The entire, there's no team owner right now that's saying that and is like, yeah, dude, cool. There's obviously some team fight back, and I think you'd argue that, Chip and Zach are probably leading that. As looks like we got some more breaking news here, Kobe.
Yeah, I got some breaking news. Tim Cindric has broken his silence, and he has put out a statement. Tim Cindric said that he said it's been an amazing ride. While my conscience remains clear through all of the noise and accusations, I'm grateful to have so many great people to draw strength from in times like this. I'm still standing tall. Yeah, and that's all. And that was just said a few moments ago by Tim Cindric on social media.
Wow.
Right on, brother. I didn't do nothing wrong.
Get ready to learn GTP, buddy.
All I've got in my head is Elton John, I'm Still Standing on that one. That is a surprise. Ellen Campbell's replied, just to use on Twitter, say, stand tall you should. Sad you had to be the fall guy. Andrew Howard, you'll be back. Come join IndyCar Fox Booth team for the rest of the season as well.
He did the Indy Next race a couple of weeks ago at the Grand Prix. He was in the booth for, I think it was race 1, and he was very, very good.
Get him in. I mean, that'll be the fourth person we need. And I've got a feeling that this is only the beginning of what we're going to hear. But would Fox really overshadow the 500 main race show talking about this? I'd get a feeling they'd be barred from talking about it. It'll be carb day.
There will be 10 minutes of it or whatever, but you can't break away from all the other stuff to talk about this.
Well,
Matthew Owen's ball head will explode if they do.
He'll be doing his own pre-show. Fine. Well, Larson practice
on
Saturday, or will he say Indy? If I'm not mistaken, he will practice and then come back, won't he? Because he has to qualify.
Yes, correct. Yeah, as Larson has been saying all month and last month as well, the priority this year is going to be NASCAR after what happened last year. So no matter what, NASCAR is his priority. So he will participate in practice and qualify on Saturday and fly back to Indy for the race on Sunday. And then Mother Nature holds up, he'll get to run Indy, and then he'll get to Charlotte on time to start the Coke 600 NASCAR Cup Series' very first race on Amazon Prime Video.
1,100 miles as well. Right, we're going to let Jackson go this evening. Jackson, it's been a whirlwind again, as you say, and it's been a night of breaking news. Give us a moment to look forward to going to the 500 of positivity.
Always love these kind of nights where we're kind of riding the wave. No, I mean, you've got so many great storylines wherever you look. The front row is like the start of cars, as our friend Jordi Alvarez pointed out, with the rookie, the legend, and the Mr. Runner-up. So always something to look at the front row. I really do think Scott McLaughlin has potential to go and win this thing, even in the face of controversy.
Great.
A driver has never won the Bathurst 1000 and the Indianapolis 500, and I just think that would make absolute waves. So, if not, Pato O'Ward and Alex Palou have been chasing this down for so long, have come so close each year. Those are my big three for making it happen. But who knows? Maybe we have more cautions than fingers on my hands, and we see Devlin DeFrancesco drinking milk. I don't know.
Jackson, thank you very much for that as well. We'll see you again over the weekend. Right now, though, we're going to head back over as Kyle Moyer fans is greetings from Colombia. Oh, I absolutely love Colombia as well. One of my favorite countries. Hopefully, we'll have a great Indy 500 on Sunday beyond this controversy for the good of the sport. I'm with you as well.
Agreed.
Right now, hang on. If Larson wins the double, could he be the greatest driver ever? Yes. I'm up there. Austin is going to cop a lot of flack for his father in the NASCAR field for the next couple of races, sadly so.
Oh, and Josh, one last thing before we go over to Matt for the EP. I also got the graphic up of the Tim Cindric statement, so I wanted everyone to see it right here. Here, I'll repeat it again. Tim Cindric has just broken his silence for the first time since all of this went down after qualifying on Sunday. Repeat what he said again. It's been an amazing ride. While my conscience remains clear through all of the noise and accusation, I'm grateful to have so many great people to draw strength from in times like this, still standing tall. Yes, I just wanted y'all to see what I was reading there from Tim Cindric.
Going out very much on a high. Okay, so after an hour of breaking news stories, time for a quick look at the Grid EPI update with Matt.
Thank you, Josh. Another busy weekend of Grid Endurance Performance Index racing. This is our sports car grid ranking, basically, for 2025. And there was some couple of races over the weekend. And we'll start at Sebring, where the American version of GT World Challenge was there at the weekend for a couple of races. And they were both won by the Random Vandals BMW of Kenton Cook and Colin De Filippi, picking up 2 more victories. They came from the back of the field to win at COTA last month as well, so putting themselves well in contention to be the championship favourite down there at Sebring at the weekend. The European Championship was at Zandvoort over the weekend. One race Saturday, one race Sunday. On Saturday, it was the turn of Porsche to get the victory, with Rutronic Racing getting the win. Patrick Niederhauser and Sven Muller winning on Saturday. Overall, there is the Porsche on screen. The Gold Cup on Saturday was won by Jill Magnus and Paul Everard. Silver Cup by Alex Arca and Ezekiel Perez-Companc. And the Bronze Cup was won by Bastien Bus and Bashar Mardini. On Sunday, BMW got another win, as they did at Sebring. They got a win here at Zandvoort on Sunday too, with Charles Weerts and Kelvin van der Linde bringing home the WRT BMW to victory. Thierry Vermeulen and Chris Lullum in Max Verstappen's team winning the Gold Cup. Ivan Klemenko and Lawrence Lectura came second overall in the race and won in silver. And Dennis Marshall and Justin Blattner were the bronze winners. Here's a look at the points standings after those races totted up. Week 8, Nick Tandy and Felipe Nasr still tied at the top. Charles Weerts in 4th place there after his win at the weekend, keeping him in contention. Same for Chris Lullum in the Gold Cup there. He is now 5th overall, and Sven Muller popping himself up into the top 10 after his win on Saturday. This coming weekend, as there's the top 50 on screen as it stands right now, is there. This coming weekend is the second busiest Grid Endurance Performance Index of the year. Forget your Monaco, Indy 500, Charlotte, Coke 600 weekend. This is what we've got coming up in the EPI this weekend. The 24-hour series is at Misano. DTM and the ADAC GT Masters, which is their first round of the season, is at the Lausitz Ring. That's across the weekend. Also across the weekend, 2 races from the Nordschleife for the qualifying races for the Nürburgring 24. And on Monday in the UK, at Alton Park is British GT. So 9 races to score this weekend coming up in the Grid EPI for week 9. So we expect a lot of changes of position amongst that top 50 and below going into the weekend coming up. Busy show. Let's get to Kobe. He's got more headlines from the week that was.
Thanks, Matt. Time for some more motorsports news from around the world. In one of the best opportunities of his NASCAR career so far, BJ McLeod will drive for Spire Motorsports on Friday night in the Craftsman Truck Series race at Charlotte Motor Speedway. McLeod will drive the number 07 Chevrolet Silverado with sponsorship from Pigeon Forge Racing Coaster. This is related to McLeod's latest business venture, which is a motorsports-themed attraction in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, set to open later this year. He'll be making his first Truck Series start since 2021, this time in competitive equipment. McLeod said he's ready to put on a show for the fans and make this ride one to remember. Graphic courtesy of Spire Motorsports. James Warburton is returning to his old job as CEO of the Repco Supercars Championship. He will replace outgoing CEO Shane Howard, who is transitioning into a new role as Motorsport and Race Board Director. Warburton previously served as Supercar CEO from 2013 to 2017 and will pick up where he left off effective immediately on July 23rd, later this summer, or I guess for them, winter. During his first stint leading the series, he was credited for helping land the big 6-year media rights deal with Fox Sports Australia, which played a key role in helping the teams obtain financial security. Warburton said Supercar holds a special place in Australian sport, and he's honored to return to lead them into the next phase. Photo courtesy of Supercars. And sticking with Supercars, Zach Best has secured a drive for the Repco Supercars Championship endurance races. He'll share the number 3 Blanchard Racing Team 4 with Aaron Cameron at the Bend Enduro and Bathurst 1000 from 2021 through 2023. Best finished runner-up in the Dunlop Super 2 Championship for 3 straight years. He also made history in 2022 by becoming the youngest and first wildcard driver to win a pole in Supercars competition. Best said he's beyond excited to join BRT and grateful for the opportunity to prove that he belongs in the main game after being out of a ride last year. Photo courtesy of Supercars. Mobil 1 will sponsor Wayne Taylor Racing's entry for next month's 24 Hours of Le Mans. The team will compete in the hyperhard class with the number 101 Cadillac. Jordan Taylor, Ricky Taylor, and Philippe Albuquerque will be behind the wheel. WTR joins a 4-car lineup for Cadillac. We'll have 2 entries from Hertz Team Jota and 1 from fellow IMSA team Action Express Racing. Wayne Taylor said he's thrilled to have Mobil 1 on board for Le Mans because of their long-standing alliance with Cadillac and General Motors. Photo courtesy of Wayne Taylor Racing. And that's all of our headlines for the week. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt for everyone's favorite game. Pick a winner.
Another busy weekend of Pick a Winner coming up this weekend as well. There is the standings. I've dropped from, I was second for ages, and now I'm down to third, only on alphabetical order, joint with Kobe on 23. You can get your picks in for a huge selection of races across the weekend using the hashtag Pick a Winner. Formula One Monaco, Indy 500, Coke 600 for NASCAR, and MotoGP at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix in its much earlier slot in the calendar this year. We're going to pick the sprint race, as we always do on the show, for MotoGP round right now, or at least attempt to. Silverstone, it's supposed to rain here in the UK. I know,
what a surprise.
Unbelievable. It's a bank holiday weekend in the UK, and shock horror, it's going to rain. So, could be up in the air. I'm still going to pick Marc Marquez, though. Kobe?
Yeah, I made a mistake last time of not picking Marc Marquez, thinking I was going to be smart there, but I wasn't. So I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. So until further notice, I'm going with Marc Marquez to win the MotoGP sprint race at Silverstone. Here you got, Josh.
I'm going with Marc Marquez as well for the sprint, but for the Grand Prix, I'm still undecided because Silverstone has produced a different winner and even produced a first-time winner in any class for the last 15 years. So there's still some time that maybe Ralph Fernandez or someone along those lines could to get a win as well. So keep an eye out. There could be some interesting weekends. If it rains, well, yeah, and Zarco can win a race when it rains.
Wow.
Who knows what's going to happen? But for God's sake, please just be 45 minutes on the Sunday. I have got to get to Monaco. It's MotoGP, your fault you've changed it to May. You've put up against Monaco and the Indy 500. And I finally found out the reason for it, guys. It's because with Monaco shifting, they wanted Liberty, one of their big events across the series, to happen on this day. And that's why they've put the British Grand Prix from MotoGP on this date.
Priming themselves ready for next year when Monaco doesn't happen on this date. Of course, it is the last Motorsport Christmas this weekend of F1, Monaco, Indianapolis, and the Coke 600. Get yourself on the board. Use the hashtag Pick a Winner across all of the Grid Network TV social media channels over the weekend. Get yourself on that scoreboard. We'll be talking about it next week. Day in the Life is going for Marc Marquez for Saturday as well. And Adam, also, you've got up until the green flag to change your pick. Kisser is going with Marc Marquez all weekend. Says Joe, that is the Grid Network TV dog for those that don't know. And Kisser is 15th on the list there, so doing pretty well. You can get yourself on there as well with correct guesses of this weekend's races and plenty more to come. I think there's 120 something from the last count still available from here on out. So plenty of chances to get yourself up the leaderboard. John also going with Mark Marquez. Please get involved with that. Use the hashtag pick a winner. Also get involved with Hots and Knots, as we always do to finish the show with myself and Josh. What we thought was good, what we thought was bad from the week or the weekend mostly. I've not got many hots apart from the one I mentioned earlier, and we did touch on it, which was Robert Schwartzman, which was just sensational, getting the pole at Indy.
Brilliant! What a 500! What a atmosphere to receive a rookie team and a rookie driver on pole.
Obviously, it being the 500 this weekend is super uber Top Gear style in the fridge at the end of the wall, hot.
Yes.
But
I want to put two things. One, it's going to sound weird, but Max Verstappen, the lap 1 move at Tamburello that I have not seen since Ralph Schumacher did it in 2001.
Oh, good shout.
Yeah, the outside move for the lead of the race and taking it. That was perfect. I even said in the commentary, fabulous, like Murray would, because it was instant reminder of it. I thought, wow, that's some talent there. So he got past Russell. He had a bad start as well. Bad start, had Russell right alongside, dealt with Russell, and then went straight from the McLaren and got Piastri into turn 1. Sensational around the outside. Then Norris also did it around the outside. I can't remember who with, but in the race, that was a good move. And I think
Russell?
Imola. Yeah, it was on Russell, yeah. I think Imola, just as a whole, I hate we're not going back there. What a fantastic race we had. It was brilliant. And just when you thought, oh, it's getting a bit dull, out comes the safety car. And everyone goes, oh, well, you should pit here. And then they don't pit. And McLaren leaving themselves vulnerable. So it was a great race. And Verstappen, for me, proved with that move that he still has got it in a car that isn't up to it.
More on Imola in knots. Quick hot that I've just remembered to remind and or talk about quickly. If you follow me on social media, on all of them, Matt White Racing on Blue Sky and Watching Racing on Twitter, I posted this yesterday. I've made a playlist on YouTube of random races. I want you to add to it so I can watch them. Please, just random stuff. It's got to be on YouTube, obviously. Throw it in there. The tweet's up. The Blue Sky's up. Just add to my playlist, please.
I've got some good ones. I've
probably seen a good chunk of them, and if they are, they're going to get deleted straight out. But I know what I've watched, and I know what I haven't watched. So that's a hot. Is please add to my playlist. Not back to Imola. Oscar Piastri at the start. Have this piece of racetrack, please. I don't want it. That was poor. And then this was me.
Really? You fell asleep?
I thought it was I drifted off in the middle. I thought it was dull. I thought it was very dull. Yeah. There's only one place to overtake. It's assisted by DRS. We only were going to it. We went to it. We never were going back to Imola until COVID. And now we've stayed.
Ooh, this is interesting. We never disagree that much. This is new.
I know. It doesn't happen often. I didn't think it was a very good race. I think I tweeted it, or whatever. I said it was a 4 out of 10 at best. The leader was up the road. We never saw him. They took forever to clear Antonelli's car because the recovery vehicle couldn't get back in where it was and had to go to the top of the hill. Extended the safety car. Then we had to wait while Behrman got his lap back, which they could have done at the other side of the circuit where there was nothing going on and let him go through. That rule is still stupid. They should. You shouldn't get your lap back if you're a lap down. Tough. Fall to the back of the queue by going through the pit lane. Then we can get back going again. I didn't. And then I'm not sure if you were doing the race yourself, Josh, but Harry and Ant on Sky in the cool down after the race of it finishing while the coming in lap. What a great race! This is why we come back to these classic racetracks. And I'm going, nothing happened.
I think
really
not a lot happened on the track. There were some great moves that happened during the race. And Max at turn one,
Couple. Lando on George.
And I think that the only reason the race to me was a bit more exciting was because it was another chess game, just like China was. And I like those type of races. It gives us a glimpse of what the season could be. And for me, what I took away with that is that Max can still perform, even with a bad car. McLaren still can't favour one driver over the other when the strategies are completely different. And that will be their downfall. I know Oscar's the championship leader, but he was on the worst strategy. They should have prioritised Lando. They didn't. Ferrari can muck up qualifying and somehow make the race better.
Yeah.
Don't know how that happened. It shows that they've got some pace in their car, though. So that might be interesting come Canada, the next track that sort of suits the same situation. And Williams as a genuine contender for podium. I would not be surprised if at some point this year we get a very surprise victor, and it is Alex Albon.
Driver of the season so far for me. Alex Albon has been tremendous.
He's got more points now than any other time at the start of the season after the opening 6 races.
Something like that. Yeah, it's an amazing run that Williams have found themselves on, and long may that continue.
One thing that worries me with that is that they said they don't care about 24, they don't care about 25, they want 26. What on earth they got in 2026? If this is what they can do now?
Yeah, right.
I'm looking forward to it.
John says he's hot with Chandler Smith winning the truck race at North Wilkesboro on Saturday, and he's not is Will Power, and I'm guessing all of the Penske stuff.
Sorry, very late hot. What an all-star race. Loved it. Loved every minute of it.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. That was brilliant. Good. The only bit I didn't like was Michael Waltrip. With the promoter's caution is supposed to be random. Don't go to the fans. 10 laps to go. 5 laps to go. 4, 3, 2. I'm going to do it now. Well, it's supposed to be random.
Spurs not choking for once. Yeah, I've just watched that game as a United fan, Denver, and it wasn't good. Robert taking the pole at Indy is Joe's hot. I was going to mention the All-Star race because it was tremendous. Apart from the messing around that we had with the caution, with Michael Waltrip up in the flag stand. Is he going to throw it? Is he going to throw it? Let's put him on split screen while Mike Joy's talking about something that we're not seeing. Because thank you, Kobe, or whoever's put that. There is my playlist. Please go and add to that playlist. It's in the comment section. You can go straight to it, but do it after the show. The way we always knew that there was a window for the caution to come out, and they were going to throw it at the closest to the end of the window, so that we can have a short run. But the fact that we had all the messing about with Michael in the flag stand, and then all the fireworks go off for a yellow flag, it was just the most ridiculous thing you've ever seen.
And then he dropped it.
That was the biggest knot of the whole weekend for me, apart from Yuki Tsunoda's accident on Saturday, because that could have been really bad.
Yeah, I said in the commentary, it's ironic that the 2 biggest crashes we've seen at Imola in the past 30 odd years happened at the same 2 parts where we had drivers killed. It was a bit surprising.
Have been changed because of those. Yeah.
The Villeneuve shouldn't have happened. That chicane, it broke the rear suspension as soon as it came around. It hit it and just whoosh straight over. Yuki Ide did that as well. Do you remember and he got banned from the sport. He clattered into Christian Albers.
That's
another race.
Memory.
Yeah. 2006.
5, 6. Yeah. Denver also says his hot was Robin the Schwarzenegger Schwartzman winning the pole, not Oscar Piastri for gifting Verstappen in the second corner, which is what I mentioned. But he will learn from that. Yeah, he will. Oscar will. That's certain. The things that have happened to him already, you can tell he's moving in the right direction. What's not even need to know for. I don't think it does. I just think it's outgrown. Formula One's outgrown the track. But much will be said again about that this weekend at Monaco.
Hear me out. We now, 31 years later, have so much better track technology and much, much faster corners. Do we still need the chicane at Tamburello? I'm going to argue no. Listen to me here. Flat out from Ravazza to the braking zone for Villeneuve, widen the Villeneuve chicane up a bit more, reprofile that one so it's a
Mm.
bit easier to get up to Tosa, but get rid of the Tamburello chicane and install the safer barriers along the side.
Maybe. Yeah, because of course that's what the thing was to begin with. They can't do anything with the runoff because there's the stream or river running behind the racetrack there.
But
Maybe.
if we kept the way it is now, it would work. Just saying.
My last knot quickly before we get out of here, because it's been one hell of a show, and thank you to everybody for super chats and everything else and all your comments and dropping in. We're here every Wednesday doing this, so make sure you come back. My last knot is a throwback to something we talked about on this very show at just about this time of year last year, with a certain group of motorsport fans in a different paddock, or one that's taken a lot of our focus on the show tonight. Now have a person from their area in another paddock of Formula One. Please stop again. Please stop. Jack Doohan does not deserve all the treatment he is getting on social media from a lot of people. Your man has got his seat. Just let him be.
Can't wait for 4 races time when he loses that seat after crashing twice this past weekend as well. So it's what I said. I don't see why Jack Doohan was the best replacement. Why he got replaced, because Colapinto is still a crasher. It didn't make sense to me. And yeah, we'll see. Did you notice Megan said in commentary actually on the formation app when he said, "Thank you guys, thank you for all the repair." And Megan said, that was him thanking the team so he doesn't get fired. She said she's quick as a flash with that in the commentary.
What was it Flavio said? Don't break the car and finish the race.
Break the car, don't finish the race. Got it. No, wait. Okay, thanks, Matt. Taking a look at our upcoming schedule, we have got a lot, so stay tuned for our Grid Live pre-race show format standalone shows to preview Formula One's Monaco Grand Prix, NASCAR's Coca-Cola 600, and the 109th running of the Indianapolis 500. Sunday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern, don't miss our special Indy 500 preview show. And on Monday afternoon, Memorial Day, we'll recap the big weekend for Motorsports on the Grid Live wrap-up. And that's at 7 p.m. as well, with the Grid Encore, which will be recapping ARCA, Trucks, and Xfinity at Charlotte. Please continue to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for helping us reach 1,600 subscribers. Now we're inching closer to our next milestone of 2,000 subscribers. And you can hit the bell icon to get notifications for when we go on the air, so you'll always know. And you can follow all of our social media platforms and visit gridnetworktv.com. You can take 5 minutes to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. You can join Colin, Mark, Deshelle, Robin, David, and Matthew who invest each month in the Grid Network. We encourage you to join these fine folks to help us keep us on the air. And once we hit $500 per month, we can afford to send our team to the track more often and continue growing our media outlet. You can link to all of this is in the video description below. And if you want to do a one-time donation, you can click on the Buy Me a Coffee link and get your name on the board and invest as much as you want. And consider buying a specific on-air personality cup of coffee, and they'll thank you on the air. Well, it's been a big night for us here as we continue the build-up to the great day of motorsports on Memorial Day weekend. A very happy enjoyment time to everyone watching over there in Indiana as well, and have a great, great weekend. For Kobe Lambeth, Matt White from the Grid Endurance Performance Index, and Jackson Ambrose from Outlet Media, I'm Joshua Birch from JB Motorsports. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you next time. And do please drink responsibly. It's party time.